For a long time, I felt like I was trapped in this cycle where I had a really clear idea on where I wanted my life to go, but I just did not manage to do the things that I would have to do to turn that life into a reality. So I didn't manage to be as productive as I wanted to be. I didn't manage to commit to the things that I wanted to commit to. I didn't manage to be as consistent as I wanted to be. And at the end of the day, it was all because I was lacking one skill: discipline. And so today, let's talk about that. I wanted to share 3 mindset shifts that I really find so helpful when it comes to stepping into this more disciplined and focused version of ourselves so that we can actually create the life that we are looking to create. As always, if you enjoy my content, feel free to support it in some way, such as liking, commenting, or subscribing. Your support is so appreciated and really helps for me to continue to create these episodes. Also, I'm currently back in my hometown, which is why the setup is a little bit different to what we usually have. I did buy flowers though, so I hope that makes up for the lack of interior going on behind us. For the longest time, I viewed a disciplined and focused version of myself as this version of me who I wanted to be so badly, but I just didn't manage, and that's why my life was not where I wanted it to be. And honestly, that way of looking at things never got me anywhere. What really helped me though was to look at it from a totally opposite perspective and to ask myself, what in me actually enjoys being here? Which part of me does it still serve or benefit to stay this quote unquote undisciplined version of myself? And even though that's a difficult question to face at times, that's when things actually started to shift for me. At the end of the day, discipline is the key to a lot of opportunities in life. And so you stepping into a more disciplined version of yourself is really also a representation of you stepping into a bigger version of yourself. It's you stepping into a bigger life. And that can be scary. That is scary. And so even though we might feel like, oh, I want to be this version of myself so badly and I'm not managing, we underestimate how there could also be deeper parts of us, more subconscious parts of us that actually don't want us to go there because those parts are scared of that bigness and they continue to self-sabotage, making sure we don't go there. So let's say the undisciplined and unfocused version of you feels lazy, self-conscious, unmotivated, bored, whatever it is, doesn't feel good to be in that state, and that's totally valid. But now imagine the version of you who fully steps into the discipline that you have been looking for. What would be the consequences of that? And could it be that there are parts of you that are actually scared of those consequences? So maybe a more disciplined version of you would put yourself out there more. You would go after your goals more. You would get out of your comfort zone more. You would just step into this bigger version of yourself. But then the mind goes, okay, but if you do that, what if you fail? What will people think of you? What if people laugh at you? What if you lose people on the way? What if you need to say goodbye to old parts of yourself and an old way of living that has become part of your identity? What if? Sometimes stepping into a bigger version of ourselves can actually be more uncomfortable than staying where we are, even though we struggle to admit that to ourselves. And I think if that is the case, we can do all of the discipline tricks and learn about discipline and do the to-do list and hold ourselves accountable and whatever, but that scared part of us will continue to find ways to self-sabotage unless we recognize it. I think then we can learn to work around it. At the end of the day, a lot of discipline comes down to consistency. You do something consistently for a period of time until you develop discipline. Those two things kind of go hand in hand. But from my experience, to really understand and master consistency, you need to have one very specific skill, and that is you need to know how to see the invisible. You need to know how to trust and believe in things you can't can't see yet. And let me explain what I mean by that. It's like this very simple analogy, but looking at it like this always helps me a lot. Think of you growing a flower. In the beginning, it's a seed in the ground. You don't see anything, and you actually don't see anything for a while. And during that time, you just have to water it. Whether you feel like it or not, you water that seed in the ground because you trust the bigger picture. And then once you do that consistently for a while, you will start to see the flower bloom, but you only get to the point where it starts to bloom if you can manage to believe in the flower's potential when it's still invisible. So really, you can think of it like you are the seed in the ground. And so the only way that you can find this strength and consistency to step into this disciplined version of yourself is if you know and you trust and you believe in the potential that you and your life have if you decide to step into that discipline, even though you might not be able to see the potential just yet. So let's say, for example, you want to be more disciplined when it comes to eating healthy. It's going to be really, really hard if you start eating healthy for a bit and then it doesn't make you feel so much better. So you stop again, and then you start again, and then you stop again, and then you start again, and then you stop again. It's going to be really, really hard because you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to see all of your hard work pay off. But if you can commit to a time in your life where you eat healthy for a while, even if it doesn't always come easily because you have this mindset, then at some point you will start to feel, oh my God, my body feels so much healthier and I feel so much better and I have so much more energy and I sleep so much better. Like the rewards always come, but only if we know how to get through the phase where the rewards aren't visible yet. And there is no way around this. Like you cannot grow any flower by skipping this part of the journey. And so if we are looking for the flower to grow overnight, we might as well just not put any seed in the ground in the first place because we're just going to feel disappointed at the end. I would say naturally, I'm not a super disciplined person, as in discipline just doesn't come very easily to me. It is something that I need to work on. I feel naturally I'm more the type of person who just wants to go with the flow and do things whenever I feel like them. But I've also realized that if I let that part of myself run my life, I'm probably never going to get anywhere. I'm definitely not going to get where I want to go. And so something that has really helped me navigate that side of me is to adapt a mindset of being 2 steps ahead. It's when you just say, okay, I have these parts of me that sometimes struggle to commit to discipline. And so instead of beating myself up for that, how can I work around it? How can I prepare to make sure the possibility of me compromising my discipline has the lowest likelihood of happening? So a small example from my own life that I can share is that for a long time, I really wanted to be more disciplined when it came to this podcast. I wanted to create more, and I had a number of episodes that I wanted to create every month, but for a long time, I just didn't manage. I didn't manage to find the discipline to commit to that goal. And so at some point I thought, well, let me stop using all my time to feel bad about the fact that I'm not managing. And let me ask myself, what are usually reasons why I don't manage? And are there things I can do to avoid those things from happening? Such as I realized I found it really, really hard to create this type of content under pressure. It just didn't work for me. This idea of I need to write something that feels authentic and that comes from my heart, and I need to write something like that, but it needs to be done by this day. And if it's not done by this day, nothing's working out. That just didn't work for me. And so once I realized that, I said, okay, let me create a backup episode, an episode that is totally finished, already on my laptop, ready to upload, so that whenever I am struggling with the pressure, I can know, well, even if I don't manage, it's fine because I have something that I can put up. Then 95% of the time, I never even touched that backup episode. I never even used it. I never even needed it. And I started to actually hit my goals because it was never about the backup episode. It was just about me creating an environment where one of the main reasons I would struggle with the discipline now had a much lower likelihood of happening. So I was 2 steps ahead. And this mindset has so many great ways of playing out depending on your life and what you're looking to achieve. But for me, some ways in which I apply this is like simple things, even just saying, I'm not going to buy junk food at the grocery store to make sure that I'm not continuously eating it, instead of buying it and then having it lie around at home and then expecting myself to not eat it. Or it's when I schedule time in my week for downtime, time where I'm not expecting myself to do anything to avoid the burnout from happening in the first place, which gives me so much more energy to be productive in the times where I'm needing to be productive. Or even it's like calling someone who I love and trust and telling them that I've been trying to hit this goal in my life and I always manage to talk myself out of it in some way. And so I asked them to call me on that day and hold me accountable to make sure I don't talk myself out of it again. Discipline is hard. There is no way around that. But I do believe once we stop spending all of our time bashing ourselves for not being as disciplined as we want to be, it frees up so much energy. And with that energy, we can find ways to make the discipline easier. And the more it becomes easier, the more fun we have doing it, the more we will want to continue it, and the more results we actually start seeing come to life. So it's really all connected.